You're listening to the Common Fan Podcast, a Husker football podcast for the common fan, by the common fan.
Welcome back to the Common Fan Podcast. Hey, what's better than listening to your favorite podcast? Watching your favorite podcast, of course. Make sure to check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@commonfangbr. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on any of the fun, frivolity, and hot Husker takes from the Common Fans. We are, of course, also available on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and several other podcast streaming platforms. We are your fellow Common Fans. I am TJ Burkle with Matty Owens Sr. and Geoff in Lincoln. Good evening, gentlemen. Guys, we're going to jump right into it. You know, it feels a little early, but the off-season silliness, the chippiness, the rustling of jimmies, as some might say, has already begun. Did you see this thing? We got a couple examples of this, but did you see this thing with Dominic Raiola and Kirk Herbstreit?
Oh yeah. There's some
things about it.
Definitely there's some Jimmy rustling going on.
And I think
underrated term.
Probably all of Husker Nation has seen it right now or by now. But you know, if you were overly focused on the Super Bowl last week or something like that, you may have missed it. Check it out. It's all over social media. But basically, Dominic Raiola, the father of Dylan Raiola, aka Luke Skywalker, the savior of the program, gives an interview where he says Kirk Herbstreit of ESPN, everybody knows Herbie, called him and said Dylan needed to go to Nebraska. So Dominic says in this interview, he kind of phrases it as like, here's one example of a guy who called me. And he said, quote, he got to do it. So he's saying Herbstreit called him and said, he's got to do it. And he said he got to do it multiple times. Dominic said in relaying what Herbstreit said. So this causes a bit of an uproar. People are saying Herbstreit, a member of the media, was advocating for a certain recruit to pick a certain school. People were saying it's unethical. People were saying it's tampering. So a day or two later, Herbstreit goes on Paul Feinbaum's show to clarify. He said good things about Matt Rhule, but never advocated for one school over another. Interesting thing too, if I watched it correctly, I think Raiola suggested that Herbstreit called him, and Herbstreit suggested that Raiola called him. So I don't know who called whom, but they spoke. It sounds like Dominic Raiola, father of Dylan, and Kirk Herbstreit of ESPN spoke. And Herbstreit's telling of it on the Feinbaum show was, he said, look, I know Dominic fairly well. We're not like good friends, but I know him well enough. Obviously, they have each other's numbers. And he said he gave him his honest opinion. And his honest opinion is that Matt Rhule is a great coach. He believes Matt Rhule is going to get Nebraska back to respectability. And there's that added element of Dylan, the kid, having grown up in a household of a Husker All-American. Dominic Raiola is basically Husker royalty. So how much more meaningful that is for the family. And then Herbstreit ended it by saying, quote, if I'm guilty of anything, I said that Matt Rhule is a good coach and he's a good man. I believe that he will bring Nebraska back like the way he did Temple and Baylor, unquote. So this has kind of died down now that Herbstreit has clarified, but I wanted to get your guys' take on this. I have some strong opinions as you guys are.
I think we're going to be on the same page on this one. I think it reeks of college football has been over for about a month. And the college football nutsos out there are trying to create a story and create drama where there really isn't any story or any drama. For me, it's like, oh, hey, thanks a lot, Herbie. And basically, advocating for our coach. I mean, he's like, we've talked about this before. He is like one of the main voices of college football now. And I think for Nebraska fans, it's still pretty fresh in our minds when ESPN did that silly little, like, who's the best team of all time tournament. And of course, us Nebraska fans, as amazing as we are, just absolutely dominated the online voting. And I think, what was it, like three out of the final four teams were Nebraska teams, right? It was like 95, 94, and like 71. Right. Yeah. I don't think he was as mad about the 95, but I don't think he thought that 71 and 94 should be in there. But Nebraska fans haven't forgotten that. I don't. Yeah. To my knowledge,
I mean, Husker fans don't always love Herbie. Let's put it that way.
No,
yeah, for sure.
No, and it really, for me, like, I can't think of anything else really where that would have caused that animosity towards Kirk. But, it's just kind of interesting to hear him have some positive things to say about Nebraska.
I hope the Husker recruiting staff is taking that clip of Kirk Herbstreit saying that Matt Rhule is going to bring the program back and sending it to every targeted recruit in the country.
Yeah, let's use it.
Yeah,
that's my opinion on it. Like, it's been so long, but if we're getting mentioned in the national media by somebody like the likes of Kirk Herbstreit, I feel like we're doing something right. Like, for once, we're actually getting covered nationally for positive reasons. We've got the number one pick recruit in the country coming to Nebraska. So it just feels good that we're actually getting some sort of recognition right now. And the other thing is, the way I looked at it, it's one man's opinion. Like, he's just a guy, in my opinion, right now, talking with another person about our program. He is not employed by the University of Nebraska. He's not employed by any university. It's not against the rules. So that would be like one of us, just if we were good friends with Dom, saying, hey, it would be awesome if Dylan came here. That's not tampering. That's just a guy just spouting off his own opinion. I'm sorry he's famous, but he doesn't work.
Well, I mean, but for us, Jeff, it might be tampering. I mean, we're pretty well known.
We're getting to that point,
Matt. The Common Fan Podcast.
We're getting to that point where
when we
influence people's opinions.
When we get Dom on the phone and tell him what we think and try to steer Dylan straight down to
Dayton, the younger
Vine
brother.
Street.
Yeah,
or
I
Dayton.
Feel like the only way we're gonna settle this is Kirk. I know you're listening right now. Just come on the show and we'll put this whole thing to bed immediately. Yep. We'll give you all the space you need.
I don't want him on the show unless he brings his dog Ben, because that has made me like Herbstreit more lately. This is how he has the dog travel with him, kind of a support animal, and I enjoy that. It's a lovely dog.
Side note. I've always liked Herbie. I know he rubbed Husker fans the wrong way on that competition thing. To me, he's one of the voices of Fall Saturdays. He's one of the voices of college football.
Absolutely.
So I love the guy. And as far as these suggestions that, he did something unethical or that's tampering, to me, this is a non-issue. It's dumb. Okay. First of all, Herbie didn't do anything wrong. Maybe you could suggest that he's a journalist and as such, he should be impartial, kind of thing. But come on, like, I would imagine, like Herbstreit said, they're not even good friends, but they have each other's numbers. Like, college football, among that group of probably players, former players, and announcers, probably a pretty small world, actually. Yeah. These guys probably talk. And Herbstreit is not, if anything, if there was a conspiracy, the ESPN's got the SEC, all these SEC games, and they own part of the SEC network. If anything, if there was a conspiracy, Herbstreit would have been advocating for the kid to go to Georgia, not to go to Nebraska. The Big Ten games aren't on ESPN at all anymore. And so, like, that's ridiculous. Like you said, Matt, it's not tampering. Like, tampering is when a student is enrolled at one university and a representative of another university reaches out to them and says, hey, you seem unhappy there. You should come play for us instead. That's tampering. The kid hadn't signed anywhere. Any one of us could have weighed in and tried to encourage him where to sign. It doesn't matter. That's nothing wrong with that.
Right. You know what tampering
and let me tell you, who's the Michigan guy? Why am I blanking on his name on College Game Day?
Desmond Howard.
Desmond. I was going to say, everybody talks about Herbie and him being a great guy. He is the voice. I can't stand Desmond Howard, though. I was going to add that.
Thank you, Jeff. We all feel the same way. But if the University of Michigan literally wanted to bring Desmond Howard in for a recruiting event, we'd all be annoyed by it. But it wouldn't be against any rules, as far as I know.
Right.
No.
And furthermore, like Raiola shared that example as a way of saying, like, here's a very well-respected guy in the college football community who thought it was a good idea. But do you think the Raiolas made their decision because of what Kirk Herbstreit said? No. Not the 18-year-old kid didn't make that decision, and the father didn't base their decision on that. Neither of them did.
No, you know who did? You know who did tamper? Our neighbors off to the east, Iowa.
Yeah, they actually
that Proctor kid that went to Alabama.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They contacted him in season. That's tampering.
Exactly.
You want to talk tampering? Go talk to Kirk Ferentz.
They've broken. They like to present themselves as squeaky clean, but they've had plenty of issues in recent years.
Right. Yeah.
They've had plenty. Issues.
Plenty of them.
But it's just like to your point, Matt. You said this is just people looking for a story, but this one was so silly to me. It felt like the kind of thing that pops up in like June or July when there's absolutely nothing going on and everybody's just hankering for college football. So it felt like silly season started early. But another thing on that front, boys, and we might be borrowing trouble here. We might be generating something where there's not something here. But Coach Rhule, National Signing Day was Wednesday of last week, and Huskers had a great class. We're going to get into that. But Coach Rhule gave a press conference, and there was lots of stuff that is team related, recruit related, coach related, Husker football related that was part of that press conference. But one like little tidbit that jumped out to me that I thought was really interesting was, and I don't think, as far as I've seen, it hasn't made a lot of news or it hasn't generated much conversation, but we are going to talk about it. So Rhule, in talking about his and his staff's recruiting methods, says, quote, "We're not flashy. We don't show up in designer cars," end quote. Yeah. Now, you know who does use designer cars to do photo ops? You know who uses Lamborghinis to take photos with recruits on recruiting visits?
I don't know. TJ who?
Joe Paterno. Oh, wait, he's dead. Sorry.
I didn't see that one coming, Matt. I didn't see that one coming.
All right, P.
Coach Prime. Coach Prime.
Yeah, that was my second guess.
You know what he says? You know what he says when the Lamborghinis show up on campus for the photo shoots? He says, "We ain't coming no more.
We here.
Okay, sorry. Every time we talk about
I hope, I was gonna say, I hope you do that every time we talk about Prime.
Pardon my ignorance. I drive a 2016 Ford Escape, but do they really call them designer cars?
Well, that's what Rhule said. Fair point. I don't think people actually call them designer cars. That's a fair point, but we will not criticize Coach Rhule for that, Jeffrey.
Sorry, Coach.
But so you guys remember last year there was all this drama, and it was largely generated by Dion and his son, Shedeur. So last year, Rhule made a comment about embracing the team he inherited and how he wasn't going to go to the transfer portal. And meanwhile, Dion loaded up his team with, 80 plus transfers or something like that.
Yeah. He was bringing his own luggage, and it's Louis.
Right. And
designer luggage.
So there was that. And then there was that little thing right before the Nebraska-Colorado game, the Husker team like prayed at midfield or whatever they were doing, reflected, whatever. And Shedeur thought they were, stomping on the logo or something. And Shedeur got all upset. And so after the game, both Coach Prime and Shedeur talked about being disrespected and how the other coach had disrespected Coach Prime, blah, 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 blah. I thought that was a bunch of malarkey.
Bull junk.
Exactly, boys. I totally don't believe there's anything intentional by Rhule. He never named Coach Prime by name. He just said, we're embracing the team we have. I thought that was a message to his team. I kind of wonder, though, if this one was a little bit more deliberate on Coach Rhule's part. And I kind of wonder if they feel pretty good about the team that they have and they can't wait to get Colorado in Lincoln.
I think so. And I'm here for it. I love it. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, it's a classic border rivalry. And I like this stuff like happening in this time of year when we talked about this on our way too early show with Charlie, like that game there's going to be so much hype and build up to that game, and I am here for it.
Sure.
And this just helps.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think Rhule might have been felt a little bit disrespected himself after the fact, after the way that Dion and Shedeur handled it.
Annoyed at having his
annoyed, yeah.
question. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, give me a break. So I think he is kind of ticked off about how it went last year, and he's going to have the boys ready to roll this September.
This is college football now. Unfortunately, this is not unfortunate. It's actually pretty awesome, but I don't want to give Dion credit, but he did kind of change the way coaches act in the public. And now I feel like it's more commonplace for coaches to like, not even subtly sometimes, but take shots at each other like publicly. And I agree with Matt. I'm here for it. I think it's kind of fun and adds a little entertainment in the off season that is oh so desperately needed now that the NFL is over and we're entering soon to be dog days of summer when there's not a lot of stuff going on. So it gives us something to talk about.
I like that stuff, guys. Like,
I think it's fun.
You know, it's kind of old fashioned. I mean, I feel like, and you see it in a lot of professional sports now too. Especially I see it in the NBA, and it drives me nuts. Like, all those guys are so chummy and they're so friendly. I mean,
yeah, right. Have a backbone.
I was on Twitter or Instagram a week or so ago, and then there was like a mid to late 80s like NBA highlights. These guys are just taking each other out and like fist fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, and Larry Bird's throwing a basketball at Bill Laimbeer's head because he fouled him too hard. Like, let's stop being so dang nice. Like, the great players of all time weren't like hugging their opponents pre and post game. Like, I remember Tom Brady saying something like, I just had this thing where I would like convince myself that I hated my opponent and I wanted to do everything I could to beat them. I love that. I mean, you can think that during and after the game, be a good sport. You don't have to be a jerk after the game, but I like this, like this headbutting, this war of words. I love it.
And let's be honest, it's Colorado. There should be no love lost between the two.
Screw
right?
And we should be chummy with them.
Exactly. And we hate them. They hate us. It is what it is. We should embrace it. And I go back and forth on this one, guys. I know, we've already done our way too early schedule predictions, and we'll probably do 2 or 3 more of those before the season starts. And I know on that episode, I sort of said this one makes me nervous, and I'm angry that we always kind of, in recent years, we've kind of let them hang around, and we've let them win games they shouldn't have. So sometimes I feel that way, but other times I just feel like we're going to just beat them like they're our little brother, and we're going to run them out of the stadium in Lincoln. I really kind of think that's entirely possible.
Yeah, I think so. There's going to be some hard hitting in that game. I know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
absolutely.
Part of me thinks, like, we're talking about these coaches taking Dion kind of, like you're saying, Dion kind of gets it though. Like, he was last season, he was riling up that team that had no connection to Nebraska whatsoever, but convinced them that it was personal with us for no apparent reason whatsoever. So he gets that.
Like, I don't like that, but it's kind of brilliant. I mean, when you're trying to get your guys up to play a game that there's no emotional connection to, and like probably 80% of his team had no idea that Colorado and Nebraska used to be rivals like they were.
Right.
So absolutely, Jeff.
So,
and by the way, Jeff, I'm kind of picking up like that you might kind of like Coach Prime. It seems like you've kind of got some.
I did say I'm that guy when we were on that coaching hunt before we hired Rhule. I remember thinking, I want the flashy hire. I want
Mr. Hollywood
here.
Yeah,
even after. Yeah, I know. I wanted Urban Meyer for a while. I'm not going to lie to you. So I apologize for nothing. All right?
Well, I mean, we think all of us could have convinced ourselves that Urban Meyer would have been a good hire, but
right.
Yeah. Set aside your morals for a couple more national championships.
Right. Hey, we've done it before.
That's right. That's right. All right. We're going to get into much more relating to signing day and Coach Rhule's press conference in just a moment. We have lots more to discuss. So while you're listening, why don't you go ahead and start prepping your burgers, your fresh steaks, your beef ribs, whatever your dish of choice is from Certified Piedmontese. Certified Piedmontese is premium Nebraska beef, raised and grazed by Nebraska ranchers in the beautiful Sandhills region of the state. You can get your favorite delicious cuts as well as mouthwatering hot food to go at your local Mercado Butcher Shop, in Lincoln at 30th and Yankee Hill Road, or at 84th and Havelock, or in Omaha at 162nd and Maple. If you're like me and you live out of state, you can go to cpbeef.com to get certified Piedmontese products shipped right to your front door. However you get it, however you eat it, don't miss out on this premium Nebraska beef from certified Piedmontese, fueling the Husker football team, fueling the Common Fan podcast. Boys, did you cook up any certified Piedmontese beef for the Super Bowl yesterday?
Oh yeah, and I know Jeff did too.
It was fueling the Geoff and Lincoln house party yesterday for the Super Bowl.
What'd you make?
4-pound chuck roast. Threw that on the smoker for about, I want to say 6 hours, give or take. We got that internal temp to about 200. Ideally, you want to get it there so it rips apart nicely, almost kind of like a pulled pork thing. And then we made these, they were called Mississippi sliders, and threw them on a bun. And we had some au jus sauce to go along with it. So it was almost like a French dip roast combination. Freaking delicious. And I'll tell you this, my kids, I think one of my kids might be a vegetarian. I don't think she's ever going to eat meat. She eats chicken strips and that's about it. Nothing else. And even when we made this, they ate it. And so I'm not just blowing smoke. They actually ate it and had multiple helpings of it, which made me feel good. But, you know, Piedmontese is doing something right if they can get my picky ass kids to eat something other than McDonald's. So kudos to them too. It's awesome. Delicious.
Mario, what'd you make?
That? I'd use some certified Piedmontese ground beef and made a King's Hawaiian pretzel bun sliders, which was actually quite fun.
Wow.
Yeah, one of those things where I saw this gentleman on Instagram making them, and I thought, I could do that. I could try that. So I just put the ground beef into reuse the tray that the King's Hawaiian pretzel buns come in, put the ground beef in there, season it all up on the top, and then just flip it onto the grill, and don't separate the buns. And you just got this huge ground beef patty.
Yeah,
and then throw it on the giant King's Hawaiian pretzel bun, and then cut it into little sliders. The kids and I just absolutely loved them.
Nice.
Can I just say I love a good pretzel bun? Good Lord. There's people that hate me for it, but I love a good pretzel bun.
Yeah.
Well, I was traveling I was at my cousin's wedding in Oklahoma City over the weekend, so I watched most of the Super Bowl at the Seattle airport. So I did not have any tasty beef dishes. But Owens, that reminded me, like, I think I must have clicked on enough food things on Instagram now that I don't even see pictures from friends anymore. It's just complete and total food porn. And I absolutely love every minute of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, look at these chocolate chip cookies. Look at this, whatever beef dish. Look at this, whatever chicken dish. And I'm like, I'll email these posts to myself so I can try to remember to make this stuff later. Like, this stuff is all over Instagram, and it's addicting.
Yeah. The other thing I made that was, also an Instagram thing was this Mexican street corn dip in a crock pot.
I saw that on Instagram. It looked amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah, people keep doing these things out there, people. You're just providing all of us common fans with incredible game day food ideas.
What's a street corn dip? I need to elaborate, please.
Mexican street corn, sometimes you see it on a stick. It's like a corn cob, and then it's just like slathered in like
mayonnaise,
butter. Well, I don't think mayonnaise, like a creamy thing, and then they put this like tahini seasoning on it. It's like the orange seasoning.
The seasoning is just like crack.
Yeah. And so it was 2 cans of like Baja style corn, 2 things of cream cheese, 1/4 cup of sour cream, and a block of pepper jack. And then just let it melt in there, keep stirring it. Oh, it was fantastic. Artery clogger though.
Yeah,
but
no doubt.
Isn't all the Super Bowl food you eat is not good for you? That's part of the fun.
Yeah, exactly. Geoff looks like he's about to comment, but before you do that, Jeff, I got to ask you. We got an email from Lucas, common fan Lucas, who's a loyal listener. He sent a picture of this new Valentino's pizza ice cream. Valentino's, and he says, "Eat your heart out, Jeffrey." So I'm just wondering, Jeff, if you had any Valentino's flavored ice cream for the Super Bowl.
Oh God, I can only imagine if it's Valentina's flavored ice cream, it's probably like $30 for a gallon, I'm assuming, right?
Oh, yeah. I
How
don't know,
dare
George
you?
Costanza.
That's just my guess.
George Costanza strikes again.
But I've seen this type of stuff before, and it's a gimmick. Like what?
Of
Have you
course
guys?
it's a gimmick.
It's
Of course.
disgusting though. Like
I
for
think we
real.
should
Like,
try. I think we should get some, and I think we should try it
no,
next
I'll
time we
throw up.
record.
I will throw up.
I'll
Like,
try it.
oh my God, dude. Like who makes it? Is it
Um,
Creamery?
it's 402 Creamery, I think,
What's
which
wrong
is
with
that they
those
have
people?
fantastic ice cream, just
They do.
absolutely
What the hell?
wonderful
They
ice
should
cream.
know better.
Well, I think did they do a Runza one too? Maybe I don't know. Or was it chili and
Maybe.
cinnamon rolls ice cream? I think they did.
It
Yeah,
sounds
Um,
none of that
you know,
stuff ever actually sounds appealing to
sounds
me.
awful.
Like when you're mixing like something like pizza and ice cream,
No.
it's a promotion, it's a gimmick,
oh,
obviously.
absolutely.
But I'm curious enough that I'd be willing to like try it, and I would love to like do a segment where we make Jeff eat like an entire bowl of it or something like that. But
I mean, we can. I'm willing to try it, but I can guarantee that I'm going to projectile vomit all over my keyboard. So if you guys are into that and you want to see that happen, by all means.
I'm
Same
I
thing
do
with
want to see. I do want to see
yeah,
that.
I'm into it. I'm into it.
same thing with the street corn.
Hey,
I'm sorry, I don't.
with your luck, the cat will come by and just lick it all up anyway.
Oh
You
my
move my
God.
cat out of this. You leave Dottie out of this. She's a good girl. She's a sweetheart. Mexican street corn. I knew that's what you were talking about because me and Ashley went to the Haymarket for the farmers market, and I kept seeing these people in like 90-degree heat walking
Eating
around with
corn.
these corn on a stick. It was mayonnaise. It was not butter, dude.
It
And
It's
might
I'm
not
be.
just like,
mayonnaise.
come on.
It's not
What
mayonnaise. It's not mayonnaise.
what is it then? It's got to be something. It's like some tangy stuff that shouldn't be just sitting in 90-degree heat.
You're
It's
such a
just like,
you're such a
You're gonna get
sensitive
sick.
sensitive little leprechaun.
yeah,
Foodborne illnesses.
Mr. Food Safety over here.
It's so good, Jeff. Just try it at some
Yeah,
like at some
sure.
point
It
in your
is.
life. If you need
Looks
to go
good.
when it's if there's a threshold below 60 degrees or something
Yeah.
like that when you need to eat it.
When are you supposed to
Yeah.
eat corn in the dead of winter? That's not
Yeah.
corn
No,
season.
I'm just
For God's
I like
sakes, you've lived in Lincoln, Nebraska your
I
entire
like
adult life.
corn. I like corn, all right. I don't like lathering it and like anything that can go bad in like extreme heat. Dairy,
All right.
anything like that.
Well, this coming summer,
Just
find yourself find a restaurant, go inside where it's air conditioned,
Thank
and
you.
Maybe
That's so much.
take a small
I hate
bite.
eating outside.
Take a small bite to start and have yourself some street corn. All
Eating
right.
outside is awful.
Eating outside.
George,
Is there anything
Poor
wrong
wife,
with
like, hey,
just-
we should sit out. We should go going out to eat. We should sit on that on the patio. It's such a nice night. I'm not eating outside. I don't eat outside.
What's wrong with just eating a plain corn on the cob? Is that so bad? Why do we have to put so many freaking things? Corn's good. I like corn. I just don't value putting a bunch of crap on top of it.
I think it's a regional thing, Jeff. I think it's quite common in Mexico and probably the southern United States.
Jeff, look, that's a perfectly valid opinion, George Costanza. It's perfectly valid. All right.
It's kind of like a baked potato.
Well, I'm glad everyone had their beef snacks and had a good Super Bowl. I know that everyone watched the game and everybody has heard and seen and talked about it at this point. Do you guys have any? I mean, what that was like going into it. I'm not, I don't know how much we've talked about this. I don't care that much about the NFL. I don't have a huge distaste for either team. I was just hoping to see a good game. I mean, side note, Common Fan Podcast. I always say like I have room in my life for one team and they play on Saturdays. But like I want to see a good game. What a phenomenal game. I mean, that one's going to go down in the books. It was an outstanding football game. It was extremely well played, well coached. Exciting ending, all that sort of thing. So that's all you can ever ask for. I can't stand the Super Bowls that are over by halftime.
Oh yeah. Matty Jr.'s kind of become a pretty big Chiefs fan. He and I have gone to a couple games, so I was pulling for the Chiefs, but it's not like you kind of alluded to, TJ. It's nowhere near the manic quality. I remember you saying there's a manic quality of watching a game with you, that it's not anywhere near that for me watching any NFL.
Right, exactly.
I have teams that I kind of root for, but if those teams lose, it doesn't ruin my day.
Right.
I'm
Or
with you.
your week.
or my week.
Yeah. Month, whatever.
Exactly.
Doesn't
Whatever.
send me into a
Life in
spiraling
general.
depression.
Questioning the meaning of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why are we here?
Why am I here?
I thought
Why, God?
Why, God, did my favorite team made up of teenagers have to lose this week?
I thought it was a good game. I like the NFL personally. I suck at fantasy football, so I don't know why I like the
No, you
NFL.
You do
really
but
suck.
I am
Yeah.
terrible at it.
You are.
God
You are.
awful, self-admitted. But
And you're also like the last guy to pay your dues.
yeah.
True.
Got to keep you guys, the commissioner, on his toes, right? It was a fun game though. I enjoyed it. People give flack about Taylor Swift and the Travis Kelce. Even that didn't really bug me that much the entire season.
I don't
really
care.
has.
care.
Like, who cares?
I don't know why people were getting so bent about that, but it didn't bug me. I don't really dislike Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, he talks a little weird, but like people get really, I don't know why people get so bent out of shape about his wife. Like,
Well,
she can do some obnoxious things, but man, people take it personally.
I think part of it is they know how good he is. They know how good the Chiefs are. And when the Patriots were on their dynasty run, I wanted them to lose. Like every Super Bowl they played. It's like
it got old, got boring.
They've won enough. Now, like the Chiefs have won what, 3 Super Bowls in 5 years? Like people are just sick of it already.
And I've heard the pushback on that is like diehard Chiefs fans are like, you're tired of us? Like, we have sucked for so long. Like, just give us a little bit of time here. Like, we've earned it, type of thing. So I see it both ways, and I enjoyed the game. There was a lot of not necessarily I thought the play for a little while was kind of sloppy, to be honest with you. A lot of fumbling.
It was kind of ugly. It was kind of ugly, yeah.
But like there was a lot of the field stuff that kept me engaged, like Travis Kelce, like damn near knocking Big Red over, and what's his name, Greenlaw, like tearing his ACL just entering the game, like just weird freak stuff. Who was it that slapped that other dude in the helmet? Like, did you guys see that? Where
I must have missed that.
Oh God, I can't remember who it was, but he was getting signal. He was trying to signal to the ref that this guy is grabbing onto my jersey. And when the ref finally looked, then he just turned and slapped the guy in the face, and then he got the flag. Like, there's just so many weird things in that game. I found that to be more entertaining than like the first half itself, but it ended on a cool note too.
Yeah, it was kind of sloppy. There was a lot of jokes on Twitter about it being like a Big Ten West game kind of thing. But I will say, like, I just think the fact that everything turns into a political thing is so nauseating and tiring these days. So I don't see the issue with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. And my hot take on that one is this is not, she is at the top of she's at the top of the universe, right? She's Elvis. She's Adele. Right. Like there's very few that you could, like, solo performers that you could compare her with. Like she is the top performer in all of music right now. And the fact she's not dating the quarterback of the New York Jets, she's dating a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Like this should give tight ends hope everywhere.
Right. It's kind of awesome.
It's awesome. This should give Midwesterners everywhere. Like, we should all be embracing this sort of thing. Yeah. Like, this is phenomenal.
But also, like the other good part of it is, I think more people getting to realize that Jason Kelce might be even cooler, maybe way cooler than Travis Kelce. Like some of the stuff that I'd seen him like dancing at the club after the Super Bowl last night, and he's wearing like a luchador, like wrestling mask, like standing next to the DJ. And I think majority of men in this country are like, I want to hang out with that guy.
Seeing him, he go to the Bills Chiefs playoff game to cheer for his brother, and yet still drink with the Bills fans in the parking lot. That was awesome. And then just his full bore, like head to toe Chiefs outfit, including Chiefs overalls that he wore to the Super Bowl. Like, I want to party with Jason Kelce.
Yeah. And I saw this thing too, that his wife, I don't know if she's from the Philly area and that's where they met or what, but I saw this video today where she was talking about she's an Eagles fan, and if Jason ever went to play for another team, she would wear something that said Kelce, but she refuses to wear any other team's gear, which made sense because she was wearing a Cincinnati shirt at the Super Bowl.
she's never worn Chief stuff, even when she's there cheering on.
Yeah,
cheering on.
which I think is awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. I mean, Philly fans, you cannot quite. I mean, Philadelphia sports fans, like a lot of them are insane.
No,
but
don't mess with them.
You can't question their loyalty. You don't want to mess with them.
Don't mess
you
with
can't
them.
question their
loyalty.
loyalty.
They are loyal to
exactly
loyal to a fault. Where you see breaking news story. I think I just saw that guy spit on a child. Like they're nuts.
Yeah, like the movie Silver Linings Playbook is practically practically a documentary.
Accurate. Yeah.
And that one really does a good job of like capturing like Philly sports fans.
You want to talk about manic? My God,
exactly.
What's the mom saying? We're gonna make
homemades
and crabby snacks or something.
Yes.
Like that. Homemades.
So great.
Homemades.
All right, back to your regularly scheduled programming. National Signing Day was Wednesday of last week, which was February 7th, if I'm not mistaken. Friend of the program, Zach Carpenter, will be on with us later this week. He is, as everyone knows, the Nebraska Rivals recruiting site publisher, and has been on with us before. So he'll help us take a look, kind of a deeper dive at the Huskers 2024 recruiting class, which, if just judging by what he's written and what he's put on social media, I think he's pretty high on the class. So we won't go too deep into it right now, but wanted to get into some of the highlights. So, there's three kind of main recruiting sites out there: Rivals, 247, and On3. And if you look at those, kind of Oregon and Ohio State kind of led the way when it came to Big Ten recruiting. They're in the top, I think, 3 to 5 of all the recruiting rankings I've seen. So, not totally surprising. Oregon's kind of hitting on all cylinders as they're coming into the Big Ten. I mean, they're going to be a team to watch next year. Ohio State always cleans up when it comes to recruiting. So those are kind of your big winners when it came to recruiting day. But sort of that next tier, and I would call it like not even tier 2, I'd call it like 1A when it came to recruiting. The Huskers are in that mix. Okay. So in the Rivals rankings, the Huskers are number 16 nationally. And you look at sort of some other Big Ten teams. Michigan was number 13 nationally. Penn State's number 17, USC 18, Wisconsin 19. So a lot of those big name Big Ten programs that, we want to be competing with and beating, we're right there in the mix with them and actually ahead of several of them. In the 247 rankings, we're number 18 nationally. Penn State was 15, Michigan 16, USC 17. So kind of that 15 through 18, all Big Ten teams there, right in the mix with them. And then with On3, number 24 nationally. I know nothing about what these guys look at for recruiting. That's obviously too low. On3. Let's get it together, guys.
Yeah,
come on. Number 24. We're better than number 24, obviously. But I think a couple other big picture takeaways, guys. We landed 6 of the top 8 in-state recruits. I mean, it's always reassuring to keep, that talent at home. And Coach Rhule has done a good job of that. Coach Ed Foley is the in-state guy. He does a good job as well. And then we had the number 1 recruits from multiple states. So we had the number 1 recruit in Nebraska, Carter Nelson. Of course, the number 1 recruit out of Georgia, Dylan Raiola. Number 1 recruit out of Iowa, Grant Bricks. Number 1 recruit out of Hawaii, Preston Taumua. Excuse me. So anytime you're getting like that high level of recruit and you're getting a state's top recruit to leave that state and come to Nebraska is always a good thing. We had 5 offensive linemen in this class, along with 4 guys listed as tight ends. They're not included with those 5 linemen. And then the previous year, we had 4 offensive linemen plus 1 more tight end in the 2023 class. So I think, guys, kind of big picture takeaways for me are this is Coach Rhule's second recruiting class, but his first kind of full, the first one he put together when he only had a few months to put that one together, right? And then as he took over the job in the fall. And so, but most of those guys from the 2023 class have stuck around. We haven't seen a bunch of exits to the transfer portal. And so, my big picture takeaway is if you can keep his first 2 classes together, right? That's a really solid foundation of a ton of talent, right? And also, we've talked about this before, really building up the lines, offensive line, defensive line. which you have to do to win in the Big Ten. So I'm really excited about this class. I'm excited to hear what Zach Carpenter has to say about it. But I think more than anything is it had just felt like, I think with Frost and Riley, we'd get guys to commit and then they decommit at the last minute, or we'd get them to commit and they'd come on campus and we'd lose them, halfway through the season or after year 1 or 2. That's going on a lot in college football now. Like, we're not throwing stones here. It could still happen with Coach Rhule, but so far, not only is he bringing in good classes, he's building a culture to where these guys want to stick around and be a part of what he's building.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely encouraging, I think. I mean, if we can consistently be in that top 20, top 25 range and pair that with, like you said, the culture that Rhule's already set up here and the development that I think they're going to do a lot better job than prior staffs did, it's very promising. And just another thing to generate some more hope, which we know we love hope.
I like the numbers that we're seeing here, guys. I was looking at this and I really like these numbers. These are good numbers.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy about that.
That's so great to hear, Jeffrey. That's our in-house recruiting expert, Jeff Langenberg, weighs in on the numbers.
Like these numbers.
Love the numbers. These are great numbers.
These are great
Excellent numbers. I love the numbers we're seeing here. These are outstanding numbers, everyone.
You're right though. Like, for real, Tej, like, I do remember, like, you brought up Frost. I won't dog on him at all, but I do remember it just seemed like in our group of people, whenever it did seem like it was always, there was some sort of negative news, like somebody would come and commit or be here and then we would lose them. And it was almost like commonplace now. And maybe it's because we started doing this podcast, but maybe it's because of the podcast. I feel like all it is been lately is just good news, which is just awesome. So that means that the people behind the scenes, Coach Rhule and everybody there, they're doing work and they're getting it done. So it's nice to see results, and people sticking to their guns and doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's a great call, Jeff. And the other thing that would happen, I feel like, not just Frost, but some of the other recent coaching staffs we'd get a big name recruit, or we'd get somebody that we were really excited about, and then you'd never hear from them for 4 years. And then, like, even the ones that did stay, it was like they're walking on senior day and you're like, oh yeah, what happened to that guy?
Yeah.
Why didn't he ever play?
They'd be a backup to like a guy from Humphrey St. Francis or something that's like beat him out for the starting job. Like,
right. And I think already, like, you look at Prince Will Uman-Mielen and Cam Lenhart, 2 freshman All-Americans who played on the defensive line, which is not an easy place to play early, guys, the D line,
right,
in a man's league, like the Big Ten. You look at Jalen Lloyd, who was not highly recruited, but they saw something they liked, and he was an immediate contributor on that team, and they're really excited about him moving forward. So I just think there's a lot of good signs about they're not afraid to play guys early. They're clearly good at developing these guys. If you earn it, man. I mean, that's the other thing. I think if you show out and you show like you belong, you're going to get on the field and you're going to get a chance to play. It doesn't matter if you're a freshman, it doesn't matter if you're a walk-on, whatever. Doesn't matter how many recruiting stars you had. So these guys are confident in their ability to assess talent, and they're going to give guys opportunities. So I think there's just a lot to like about that.
But what you just said though, too, that kind of also plays into guys not wanting to leave. They're like, well, I worked my butt off and I did get a chance, and I did get on the field. So why would I go somewhere else? Like, I've already got my foot in the door here. So it all goes together. It all goes together.
It's all beautiful. And the numbers.
I love these numbers.
Damn, these numbers. These are good numbers.
Great numbers. Great numbers. Coach Rhule gave a press conference where he talked about a wide range of I wanted to say far-reaching. I'm not figuring out how to fit it in there, but it covered a wide range of topics. A couple other highlights, guys. We talked about the fancy cars thing, designer cars, and the Coach Prime thing. Another thing I got asked about. So Coach Satterfield, offensive coordinator, is still going to call plays. So recall, Glenn Thomas was hired away from the Pittsburgh Steelers to be the quarterback's coach and the co-offensive coordinator. So everyone was kind of wondering, well, is Glenn Thomas going to call plays now? Satterfield will still call plays. So I guess, you got to temper the good news somehow.
I'm gonna
Oh.
pipe in the Price is Right horn there, TJ.
You can't have it all, guys.
Oh.
Just when we thought we were turning the corner.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Okay, so here's a food for thought. Something I want to ask you guys. Uh, just devil's advocate, whatever you want to call it. Is it time to give Coach Satterfield another chance? So one thing I will say is I think our biggest frustration last year with him was he would call plays that he believed would work. And on paper, perhaps they would work, but we would get frustrated because, like, okay, you can't expect Harburg, who's a warrior and a wonderful athlete and a great talent, but you can't expect him to make this back shoulder throw on 3rd and 5, for instance.
Right.
Or, Purdy's in for the first time all year. He leads the team down the field against Maryland. Do no harm, get points instead of having him throw some corner fade route, whatever that was, to the end zone and throw an interception. So our biggest frustration was not, well, this is a bad play design or whatever. We're not experts on that stuff, but it was clear, like, you don't have the personnel for this stuff. Stop trying to force the issue. So food for thought experiment. Dylan Raiola, as a true freshman, is even average to slightly above average as a quarterback. He's got a lot more weapons around him now in some of these wide receivers we brought in, new running back from Oregon, a fresh infusion of talent of both transfers and freshmen. Is it time to give Satterfield another chance? Is it dare we hope a little bit that with sort of an upgrade in talent that maybe the product on the field will look better?
I think there's some cautious optimism that needs to be had. I'm willing to say, okay, let's see what he can do with a little bit more in the cupboard and maybe less opportunities for him to try to go square peg, round hole, go big brain OC on us. So yeah, I think now if we're 4 or 5 games in and we're seeing some of the same shit, like, okay, we've seen this movie before, Sat.
Exactly.
You're going to be flying a plane full of rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong if we don't clean it up.
Exactly. I'm encouraged. So Glenn Thomas with the co-OC tag will help. They say he will help design plays. And I guess Garrett McGuire is going to help design plays as well. The 16-year-old wide receivers coach. That's a joke. He's very young, but he's actually proving himself to be quite a good coach. But I don't know if McGuire did that last year or not. But I think just like a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of a guy who brings in other experiences and other philosophies in sort of the play design and the game planning going into a game can only help as well. So Glenn Thomas will be involved in that sort of thing. And you guys know how that goes. Like, you can get on the headset and say, hey, Sat, what about this? So maybe he's not calling a play.
Yeah.
But, hey, Sat, here's what I'm seeing from my vantage point. Let's try this. Or here's what, here's what Raiola's telling me on the ground. Let's try this kind of thing.
Yeah. So hey, like the thing, like for Thomas, it'll be like, hey, Dylan can make that throw. Or if it's McGuire, he's like, hey, my guy can run this route. He'll burn his guy every single time. That team approach, I think, is something that absolutely you have to take advantage of.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that's pretty, that's it. That's just something to watch, I think. I think it's something, it could just be that it's February and we're getting excited for spring ball and we are at the point where we could talk ourselves into anything. But I do think, the offense has to get better. The offense has to get better.
It can't get any worse, TJ.
If we want to take a leap like we think we are capable of, the offense has to get better. End of story.
Yeah.
One other thing from the press conference, guys, that I thought was funny. Again, we're not experts on the rules here, but basically by kickoff in August, you can only have 85 scholarship guys. And the Huskers currently have about 4,732. Like, they have not really, they have like 115 or 125 or something crazy number of guys on scholarship now. And so Coach Rhule said that people stop him on the street and say, quote, I have people stop me on the street and they're like, Coach, how are you going to do this scholarship wise? It will happen. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing, unquote. So that's just kind of funny. I think Obviously, Coach Rhule is more dialed into this than anybody. That we just need to trust him. There's a couple different things that can happen here. You can have guys. He probably knows of some guys who maybe are going to leave after spring ball. Maybe they're going to retire from football. Maybe they're going to transfer to another program. The other thing is with NIL now, you can basically ensure guys get NIL deals that pay them enough to cover tuition and then some, and then have some money in their pocket too. So I would assume there's going to be some of that going on as well.
I would assume so too.
Interesting.
I just think, but the funny part about that to me too is like, and I'm sure there's other, rabid fan bases out there, but like Nebraska fans are just so plugged in. Like, and it's like, of course they're like, okay, this is going really great, but what's the catch? Where are things going to go wrong here?
But
we got too many guys now.
He's not getting stopped on the street and asked like a big picture question about the quarterback situation or the offense or the defense. It's like all these Husker fans are well aware that we're over the scholarship limit. It keeps them up at night. They want to make sure he's on top. Did you know this, Coach? Have you been watching this, Coach? You need to be on top of this.
Yeah, like they're breaking news to him.
Clearly, you need me, Johnny on the street. You need me to tell you this to make sure you're aware of it.
I think one of these times he should just break down and just start like take his hat off and start rubbing his head and be like, "Oh shit!
Wait, are you serious?
Whoa! Say that again."
We've got to cut 40 guys.
But sell it. Like, don't even joke about it. Act like he's legit.
And then just walk away. Just walk away like shaking your head.
Like sprint.
Yeah. I got to get Satterfield and Tony White on the line here. We've got to get going here. Oh my gosh. All right, fellas. Other big news, not out of Husker Nation, but in the Big Ten. UCLA coming to the Big Ten this year. Their head coach of the last several years, Chip Kelly, leaves UCLA to take the job of offensive coordinator at Ohio State. So he takes a demotion so he can go to Ohio State and call plays. I don't know if that's a testament to where UCLA is as a program. Chip says he's his own guy, right?
Yeah.
And so
totally.
I could see him being a guy that's sort of fed up with the new world of college football and not wanting to deal with NIL and not wanting to deal with transfer portal. He's an offensive genius. He loves designing and calling plays. So it could be as simple as he's probably got enough money to last him the rest of his life. It's probably as simple as, look, I love football. I want to coach football. I'm not dealing with the rest of this crap. I can go to Ohio State and call plays and compete for a national championship. It's probably that simple, but just fascinating that he's willing to. John Canzano, Pac-12 reporter, in one of his latest newsletters about Chip, said that the last time he talked to Chip, he told him, he and his wife live on the beach in LA. So you're walking away from palm trees and your beach house to go to, and Columbus is a fine town. There's nothing wrong with Columbus, and Ohio State's a top program. I'm not saying that they're moving to, South Bend or somewhere crappy like that, Jeff.
Whoa.
But
take it easy.
That's right.
Shots fired.
He's at the peak of his profession. Like if he didn't want that job, I'm sure he could have gotten another head coaching job. I have no doubt about that. And he takes an OC job.
Yeah.
I think
it speaks to, I don't know about where UCLA is, but maybe how much they care about football. I mean, they care enough to go to the Big Ten, but they also, are they kind of going because big brother across town, USC is going, and they want to stick with them because they know that like that's probably what's best for them. Mm-hmm. But like now, like UCLA is hiring Deshaun Foster, which is like, for kind of what from what I've seen and read is kind of speaks to what I just said. Like number one, there's not that many guys that are out there available, but number two, I'd seen that they don't have the money to spend on a coach that they probably should. I mean, so you're hiring a guy that played running back for you who to my knowledge, I don't think Deshaun Foster has any head coaching experience.
I don't think he's even been a coordinator.
Right. So, I think it does speak to like, okay, where UCLA it kind of is and where Ohio State is. I mean, but also there's the Ryan Day factor there too, right?
Yeah, Chip coached him at New Hampshire, right?
Yeah.
Way back in the day, yeah.
So there's probably, the getting the boys back together kind of thing sounds kind of fun, I'm sure, too, to Chip.
Yeah, well, and also of interest to Husker Nation is Tony White was, I believe, heavily considered for that job.
Yes, yes.
They probably
He's a
should be.
UCLA guy, yeah. And so it's interesting to me that they didn't go with a proven coordinator. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if there's something going on there. If there's they shouldn't have budget issues in the years to come, moving to the Big Ten and getting that big paycheck. But maybe there's issues with the athletic department budget right now, or
That's the
I
only
don't
thing
know
I can
what.
imagine. Like
Yeah.
there is no other explanation for
But
that.
hey, I mean, bottom lining this, and I think we're going to get to this. So maybe I'm speaking out of school or out of turn here.
No such thing.
But this is good. This is good for Nebraska. I mean,
Yes.
we talked about, again, I'm going to reference our episode with Charlie, which is a great one. Common fans, if you haven't listened to that one yet, the way too early season prediction. UCLA coming to Lincoln on a
November
Saturday
2nd.
on a Saturday, November 2nd. Saturday in November. These West Coast kids coming to Lincoln, Nebraska in November with a first-year head coach, a first-time head coach. So that bodes well. Like, that looks good on paper to me right now.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Maybe Jeff, maybe Deshaun is the second coming of Coach Prime, only for LA and University of California, Los Angeles. Hail to Westwood. But I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it. So good news for the Huskers.
Well,
Definitely.
and that's we've talked about this before. I'm really looking forward, guys, to when we get excited to play the best teams, because we too are one of the best teams, and we want to beat and can expect to beat the best teams. When we went to the Big Ten, coming off of back-to-back Big 12 championship game appearances in 2009 and 2010, and the program was in much better shape. I remember being excited. Let's go beat Michigan. Let's go beat Ohio State. We're not waiting our turn.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna compete with the big boys here. And of course, it hasn't played out like that. So I am looking forward to being like that again. In the meantime, however, this disruption and dare we say dysfunction at UCLA, who's on the Husker schedule this year, is great for the Huskers.
Absolutely.
And we will take whatever help we can get in the 2020 season of our Lord 2024. We will take whatever help we can get.
That's right. 100%. Give us
Absolutely.
all the break. God knows we haven't gotten a lot of breaks the last 15 years or so.
That's right. And the way this schedule sets up, the most winnable games are on the front end of the schedule. That's the first 7 games. Then we got Ohio State, and then we have UCLA after that. Mm-hmm. So that's 8 out of the first 9 games are games that, if we're not favored, they'll be probably within 3 points one way or the other.
Winnable. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all winnable. So I don't know. We'll just see. Check out the way too early season prediction, Common fans.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We got one more thing to cover here. Kyle G, Husker Kyle, reached out to us again. We always love it when the Common fans reach out with thoughts or questions or input. So thanks to Lucas for emailing about the Valentino's ice cream. Thanks to Husker Kyle.
Out of you, Luke.
Thanks to Husker Kyle for sending this email that I am about to read. He's always got ideas about sort of changes that could be made to college football. So this is another fun one. But before we get to that, you guys got anything else? Anything else I forgot? Anything else you want to cover?
Yeah, real quick. I have we're getting to that time of year where you start to feel a little bit of magic in the air. And
is it because of Valentine's Day?
No, Jeff, it's not because of
Valentine's Day is this week.
No, Jeff.
Yeah, the anniversary. The anniversary.
No,
of your proposal,
what I'm
Jeff.
talking about is like I was watching the Waste Management Open this weekend, and we got the Super Bowl. So that means March Madness is getting closer, baseball season's getting closer, and when those things happen, okay, we got the March Madness, we got the Masters, baseball season, and then it just takes us right into summer, guys.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna be outside more. We played some golf, and the next thing you know, fall camp is starting, and that means football season's back. So this is all just kind of like we're slowly getting closer and closer, and it's you got to take advantage of these other things, March Madness, golf, baseball, all those things, but they just lead us beautifully, naturally right back into football season.
Yeah, I love how spring ball hasn't even started, and like we're already basically to fall camp.
It's
Yeah.
the day after the
Basically.
NFL season ended. No, football will be
Hey,
here before we know it.
No,
college
I do.
football's been over for a month. A month, Jeff. You know how bad my withdrawals have been on Saturday night when there's no freaking Pac-12 after dark on?
Yeah, it's gonna
Well,
be
and
tough for
I'm
you.
like a junkie over here.
there's it's so true. I play these mental games too. And like whenever we get to Memorial Day, like I always have this feeling of like I feel like the Allies like on D-Day plus like 2 weeks. Like
Yeah.
we've landed and we've taken some ground,
Yeah.
right? Like we've fought hard and we've gotten to Memorial Day, and now we've only got 3 more months before football season starts. So we've
Yeah.
made some progress on the way to Berlin, and we're getting there. We're getting
Yeah.
there. So I know I
Absolutely.
always do these like mental gym, and then you get to the 4th of July, and it's like, oh my gosh, like fall camp is next month, and I know exactly what you're. I always do these
Yeah.
mental gymnastics as well.
Oh yeah.
Um, okay, email from Husker Kyle. He says he proposes that FBS programs be given the option of playing an exhibition non-conference game against either an FBS or FCS opponent at the end of spring football. So you already see this. Other Husker teams have done it in the offseason. Volleyball's done it, baseball, softball. Kyle contends football should be no different. This could be an opportunity to play, say, a Kansas or a Kansas State in an exhibition game. That would be very popular and a lot of fun for the fan base. He says whether it be a home or a road game, there would be a lot of revenue. He rightly points out if it's in Lincoln, you probably sell it out. If it's on the road, you'd see thousands of Husker games traveling. And his suggestion is not to do away with the spring game. We would still do the red white game as well, and then maybe like separated by a couple of weeks, you do this sort of non-conference exhibition game. Now he goes on to say, I consider the idea of having the game count towards a team's fall record and not be an exhibition game. However, I'm not there yet. I like the incremental step of first doing it as an exhibition and seeing if it catches on. Playing 2 spring games would create more fan interest and maybe an incentive for players competing for a roster spot not to transfer over the winter and instead stay and have the opportunity to compete in these 2 spring games. Let's see. There are a lot of details to work out in this proposal, but the idea would definitely enhance fan interest in the spring for Husker football. What do you guys think about this?
On the surface, I like it. The only, and I hate to be the Debbie Downer or the turd in the punch bowl, but
You are. It's fine.
injuries would be my
So
only hang
that
up is if
Owens,
somebody got hurt.
that's exactly like what I was gonna say is would they view this as like ripe for an injury, like a preseason football game where we'll play this game, but we're not gonna have any starters participate, or if they did participate, I don't think the other team's going to play soft. You know what I mean? If any, if anything about exhibitions, I've learned if you've watched any Rocky movie, something terrible is going to happen.
It's supposed to be
I get
an exhibition.
So for that reason, I
rest in
don't know
peace,
if I'm
Carl
on.
Weathers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
R.I.P.
rest in
Carl
peace,
Weathers. I
Carl
don't know if
Weathers.
I'm on board. I mean, shit, they even had the exhibition with Rocky and Hulk Hogan in 3, didn't they? That was like where they had a
Thunderlips.
Thunderlips, yeah. It never ends well. I feel like exhibitions just never really end well. So
Yeah.
for that reason,
Yeah.
I might not be 100% on board with this. But again, kind of like Kyle G said, there's things that probably need to be worked out. So it's not a terrible idea, but I just don't think I'm there yet.
It would be a revenue producer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
definitely.
maybe that's the way you do it, Jeff, is you say, okay, these 8 or 9 guys aren't going to play because we don't want them to get hurt, but that gives a chance for the younger guys
Get some reps.
to do something, get some reps. I mean,
Mhm.
we always worry about, okay, we want so and so to play in the 4 games but keep the red shirt. Like maybe that's a way for them to get some
Yeah,
pub, get some pub and get on the field and show
true.
people what they can do. I don't know.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you guys. Kyle, we love you. We appreciate your contributions to the show. Please keep sending them. CommonFanGBR@gmail.com for all common fans. I don't think I'm down with this one. I'm going to share an opinion that you guys may disagree with, may not. I don't think this will be as controversial as my anti-turkey on Thanksgiving opinion.
That's pretty controversial. It's
Yeah.
stupid too.
But I don't think this will be eat shit, Jeff. So just dry, tasteless, flavorless turkey.
Put some
Okay,
great
anyway.
dip in something for God's
Are you
sake.
saying
Like, you hate condiments?
are you saying the exhibition spring college football game is also dry and flavorless?
No. What I'm saying is like, okay, when spring ball rolls around every year, I get really excited. I love spring ball because you have practice reports, you have coaches interviewing regularly, you're getting new information about the team. You're learning about how this year, especially, everyone's going to be on Raiola watch. How does he look? Every move is going to be examined, and we'll all be eating that stuff up. So there's a ton of value in spring ball. I love spring ball. I can't get into the spring game. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care about a scrimmage. Nothing to me can
I
replace
get you.
the 12 games that matter in the fall. Nothing, you don't get that feeling anywhere else, and nothing can replace it. And so if you add, even if it's like a Missouri or a Kansas State or one of these old, long-time opponents from the old days, to me, one, it doesn't count. It won't count towards your record. Maybe Kyle, and I don't like the idea of doing it someday, making it count for the record in the fall. The fall season, the fall season. That's the way it's got to be. So it won't count, one. And then two, if you do have to sit 25 guys because they're injured or because you want to rest them or whatever, and you lose to one of those second-rate programs, I don't want to hear it from their fan bases because they will treat it like the Super Bowl. And for us, it'll be an afterthought.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear that garbage from them. I just don't, I guess I just don't see how they would treat it anywhere different from the spring game where, Coach Rhule, I mean, they played a real spring game last year and Coach Rhule's have been more physical. But you still, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember. I actually don't remember, but don't they still have quarterbacks in green jerseys, no contact?
Yeah.
You're sitting guy, and you should take all precautions to either recover from injuries or avoid injuries. That's how you should do it in the spring. Because so I love the spirit. I love the spirit behind the idea.
Yeah.
Like I do think Husker fans would appreciate it and enjoy it. But for me, it's an exhibition. I couldn't get excited about it, and you risk injuries like you guys said. So if this is Shark Tank, Kyle, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I'm out.
Okay, Mr. Wonderful. No, yeah, I get that 100%. And as far as I think you've got some really good points there. To me, the spring game is just about people having a chance to go to the stadium.
Yeah.
And it's like, kids get in for free. It's for the people that have a million kids like myself. It's a chance for you to bring all your kids to the stadium and not have to worry about, do I need to leave early because little Sally's freaking out and blah, blah, blah. To me, that's what it's for. It's a chance for people to put on their Husker gear and go to the stadium in April and get that little taste. That little taste of being in the old gal, the old gray lady on 10th and Vine, just to kind of hold you over for a few months. That's what it is, because the football's never good. I mean, it's exciting when we got a new quarterback or something. So that part's fun. You want to see him make a couple of good throws, but now it's on TV. It seems like every year. So it's like, I'll record it and watch it so I can fast forward to the commercials and all that stuff. So it's exciting. I'm excited about it, but just like you said, TJ, it's more about spring practice and figuring out, okay, who's looking good in spring ball and how are these new guys? Because the early enrollee part too has made it a little bit more exciting, at least the spring ball. So I get that 100%. We don't. So the Common Fan podcast, if we were voting, we'd probably say, you know what, fun idea, but we're all gonna. I think we would all pass, unless Jeff thinks we should.
No, I'd pass. It's similar to like the Pro Bowl for me. Like you just don't care. It's just it's something to have on, but it's just something that I'm not that into.
Yeah.
But I don't even think the players are that into it either, to be quite honest with you. So it's an event. It's a show. I used to go back in the day for that exact reason, Matt, just to get together with friends and go down there in April when you're just looking for anything to do.
Right.
Because college football is still quite a bit of ways away. And I feel like it lost me probably in the first year of the Callahan era, because we brought in this whole new offensive scheme. And like, I remember, like, I was there, like the first play was this big, like, production of people moving around in the
bunch of
backfield.
preset motion.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone's like, oh,
yeah. And we complete like this huge pass. We're like, this is it. We have what we need to be the biggest thing in sports history. And then went on to be what we became from there under the Callahan era. And I think that's where I was kind of like, I'm not sold on the spring game anymore. That was all show. So it's good enough for what it was.
No, yeah, it's an excuse for people to go down there, and it's especially for the kid, the young folks in their 20s. It's an excuse for them to day drink.
100%.
Yeah, because the young folks in their 40s would never do that.
Yeah, no, I never. Notre Dame spring game, my dad DVRs that every year. Somehow he gets his hand on that. So we do analyze that, and we take that very, very seriously, because
nobody
they televise that. Is that on Peacock?
It might be on like NBC Sports, but yeah, we get our hands on it.
NBC Sports. I didn't think that existed anymore.
It's still there.
Why don't you and LaRue just enjoy that and not leave us alone about it?
That's not an exhibition. That's real football.
All right, fellas. Well, we covered a lot of ground this evening. Do you guys have anything else for the common fans out there?
What are we doing for Valentine's Day, fellas? What's going down?
I got a work trip.
Not a damn thing.
Nothing?
The wife and I are going out to dinner the day after Valentine's Day. It's like going out on it's like going out on New Year's Eve. It's like one of the many
common wives.
One of the many reasons I love my wife so much is because she doesn't give two hoots about Valentine's Day, and she's not into it. We don't even really do cards anymore. I think we used to do small gifts or cards or something. So it's a manufactured Hallmark holiday, and everyone knows it. And we show our love for each other 365 days out of the year, guys.
Yeah. Why do you need one day?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, not doing much on this end. Jeff, what are your plans? You seem very excited.
Yeah, you're really excited, Jeff. Are you like putting rose petals on the bed, and are you cooking for your wife wearing only an apron? Kiss the cook.
You're making a 4-pound chuck roast.
Yeah,
where you and your wife
cook a chuck roast, for lack of a better term. Might make some beef tips. I feel like we shouldn't be talking about this stuff in Valentine's Day, because I feel like there's a lot of like innuendo.
Absolutely.
Potential for innuendo.
I love you, baby. Here's some beef tips for you.
Oh my Lord. Okay, we better wrap up here. Yeah, we gotta. Yeah, I'm sorry you asked too, Jeff.
Yeah. Hey, we haven't started the Common Fan After Dark yet. We've got a little things to iron out before we do Common Fan After Dark.
That's a whole different podcast.
That's for a whole different demographic.
That's exactly right.
All right, children.
All right, common fans. Well, enjoy that Valentine's Day, whatever you do. Hopefully we keep the good, even though signing day is over now, spring ball will be upon us before we know it. So hopefully we keep the good news coming just week after week here in Husker Nation. So thanks for joining us for another one, Common Fans. We'll be back at you later this week. In the meantime, as always, GBR for life.